Scammers. They're the bad guys, right? Yeah. Well, conning countless Aussies out of billions every year is what they do, except what if the scammer is also a victim, forced to carry out this crime against their will?
This is an SOS video. My name is Miriam. I'm 27 years old. We need help. We cannot get out of this place.
This sprawling scammer farm in Myanmar has exploded in size over time. Inside, thousands of people carry out online scams, preying on the vulnerable and the lonely.
They've taken the old-fashioned scammer model and they've put the whole thing on steroids.
Julian Morgans has investigated these scammer farms for his podcast, What It Was Like.
They've built basically a series of factory farms throughout Southeast Asia. And these factory farms, they don't contain animals. We're talking thousands upon thousands of human beings whose job it is to run scams 24/7. And that's what a scam farm is.
The scammer farms are run by Chinese crime syndicates with bases in Myanmar, Cambodia and Laos.
There's different companies that target very specific groups. There is a company in one of these compounds. Their entire business model is about scamming boomers in Australia. That's their thing.
The duped sometimes losing everything.
Please help me. I don't know what else I can do. I don't have any more money. I cannot borrow anything else. I lost everything.
What makes this scam worse, there are two sets of victims. The scammers inside these compounds, victims themselves, lured by online ads promising a great job and lucrative perks in Thailand, only to be held captive inside the scam centres and forced to scam others.
I am victim of human trafficking in Myanmar. I am prisoner of this park or compound or however they call this place for 3 months now.
That's Miriam, a 27-year-old from Morocco who we've had to blur for her own safety. She thought she'd landed her dream job in Thailand.
These people are attracting people like me because they're smart and they have English.
Instead, as soon as Miriam landed, she was smuggled across the border to Myanmar. She believes she was drugged by her driver. Persuaded to scam, she was told she'd be given a good wage and promised that in 6 months she could leave.
They are putting a guard inside of my room. This was made for him in order to sleep with me and in the same room.
Trained to trick elderly men out of thousands in investment and romance scams, Miriam has fleeced around 100 victims. It's estimated up to $18 billion a year is generated from slavery-fueled scam operations in Cambodia alone, with more than 220,000 people like Miriam forced to work on scammer farms across Cambodia and Myanmar combined. The United Nations believes this could be one of the largest human trafficking events in history. Victims, in some cases, tortured if they don't meet their scam targets, make a mistake, or ask to leave. In this video, enslaved workers are being forced to do hundreds of squats, but the punishments can be far worse. Some report being beaten, tasered, tied up.
I've been victim of physical torture, psychological torture, every kind of torture. And I am not the only victim here. There was 2 Chinese girls that died in their room. They've been killed. They were taken out of their room in some plastic bags and they just like trash.
These criminal organizations, they're deliberately set up in lawless war zones. These are areas that are run by armed insurgents. They're heavily armed compounds. You can't just go in there.
Often their only hope are NGOs who operate in the region to help trafficked victims break free.
Miriam sent an SOS on her phone.
I'm scared.
Her parents contacted an NGO. This NGO, they've operated in this region for decades.
So, against all the odds, did Miriam get out?
I don't have that much of time left. The Chinese can enter at any time and kill me. It's simple as that. I just want these videos in case I die.
Tana is director of the Thailand-based NGO called Global Advanced Projects, which helps trafficked victims escape the scammer farms. In fact, it was Judah who received the call from Miriam's parents. Judah, I think we all want to know, did you manage to get Miriam out?
Yeah, we did. Her story really is one in a million story, but we were successful, and I guess that's the wins that you take and the wins which lead you to keep going and go on to the next one. We were able to leverage some negotiations with the leading officers that are over that area, in which kind of, I guess in a sense, protect the compounds, allow them to operate in Myanmar. And sometimes I have to put it down to it's a miracle, because honestly, I don't know why on that day they chose to say yes to her, but they did.
So in that case, Miriam getting out sounds like actually fairly straightforward and unusual. How does it usually work?
The majority of them would have to pay some formal ransom in order to get out. So that ransom's often paid through a form of cryptocurrency, and it can go from $5,000 right up to $20,000. But with that, the problem is that even though they pay the ransom, it's not as straightforward as they're let out. So in those cases, they might be resold to other compounds, resold to other companies, even after they've paid a ransom. Our job as an NGO is to really look for a window, to find a window of opportunity. So they might be transported from one compound to another, they might be brought into Thailand. You're looking for that moment in time where they can essentially run or flee, and you've got to be there waiting, ready to catch them. You're tracking a phone or you're tracking some beacon, and you end up finding them stopped at the red light and would basically jump them out of the car. Or they'll end up down alleyways at hotels where they have to exchange vehicles, and we hope to intercept during those moments.
And so, Judah, if it's in a lawless part of the world that governments can't really control, I mean, we can highlight it, sure, but what ultimately can be done to stop this?
From my view, we need to try to stop the victims from entering the scam centres in the beginning. Most people believe that this is, going after the naive, where we're focusing on those who are gullible. But the truth is these scam systems have focused on the educated, have focused on those who do their due diligence. But the problem is they're so sophisticated, the networks are so well made, they're able to continue to capture these victims. So the idea is the more information that we get out there, the less victims that would come into the scam centres, and therefore the scam centres would have less employees. So if we could try to prevent and stop that, we might make a change in the system itself. It's really important as an Australian people, we start to actually discuss what the issues are, discuss it at our tables, discuss it with our families, so as to hope that our families are not the next victim.
In the meantime, though, if people don't have access to an NGO like yourself or like yours, how long can they be stuck there?
Essentially, there is no way out unless you pay a bribe or someone comes in to rescue you. If they ask to leave, then the torture is increased. They're locked into cell rooms, they're starved, they're beaten, they're tasered, they're whipped in order that they would agree to go back to work for 17 hours a day. And so there is little to no hope for those that are inside the scam compounds, unfortunately.
And this could be going on potentially indefinitely, like for decades, if this doesn't get shut down in some way.
Yeah, I mean, that's the greatest fear, is that it just would continue. The growth pattern at the moment is so exponential. Even with the information that the world knows now, they're not slowing down. You drive over to where the scam compounds are, and the interesting thing is you can see them right from the borders. I could literally pick up a stone while living in Thailand and throw it through a window of one of the scam compounds, yet they remain untouchable. You're unable to go in there, you're unable for people to get out. It is really an issue that the globe is behind in, and we need to figure out how to move forward.
Judah, here's hoping we can see some of the progress that you're at least talking about, that maybe we can do something to fight this. It seems a really insidious problem. It's extraordinary. Thank you so much for speaking to us, though.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
And if you would like to learn more about Miriam's story, you can check out the What It Was Like podcast.
That's
blew me away.
insane,
That's
isn't it?
insane.
Never heard about that. That's
No.
insane.
And also now I have to feel sorry for the scammers as well.
Yeah.
How many lives are destroyed from these scammers? The people who
come
are doing
they
the scamming, and then also
can't-
like $3 billion, isn't
Why
that what
can't
Aussies
they
lost?
control it at the telco end?
How do you mean?
Well, when there's communications with people, and they must know that they're dodgy.
Oh, I don't know if they would. You're asking a technological question I can't answer.
But I thought you knew everything, Wale.